We're just starting. Just bring up the copy here. Okay, we're learning the Sicho, the Rebbe's talk from the year 1992, one of the last Farbrengens we have of the Rebbe. The Rebbe got sick within about a month of this time. So the Farbrengen goes like this. This is Parshat Mishpatim, the 27th of Shvat, Mevarchim Adar, Tafshin Rim Beis. So the Rebbe says like this: it's known shekol ha'meuros sheba'olam hem hashgacha pratis. Everything that happens in the world. This was about the time I think that he signed a weapons agreement between Russia and the United States, and the Rebbe actually incorporated this into the Farbrengen and as a sign of the coming of Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, everything that happens in the world is by divine. And it can be a lesson for us in our service to God. Even more so, and specifically when we're talking about things that happen to important large countries. If it's not just a small event, but an essential event, it obviously has a larger, obvious lesson that we could take from that. And specifically, we're not just talking about any country, but a country that has been hosting a majority of the Jewish people in the time of exile. Bali Hasafa Umanhigus Kol Oilam Kulai. Bali Hashpa Umanhigus Kol Oilam Kulai. A country that is influences and kind of directs the world, takes direction from one of these superpowers, so to say. So the lesson is not just a pratistic lesson, an individual lesson, but a general lesson, because it's coming in a more kind of general sense, coming from a superpower that has tremendous influence around the world. And the Rebbe continues, this applies to things that are happening in our days. The Rebbe says, he starts off with, something that happened on this Erev Shabbos, meaning on Friday of that week. That the heads of states gathered. I guess it was a gathering of the UN. Two great superpowers, which was then the United States and Russia. And they made a commitment, and they announced that there's going to be a new world order to try to stop wars amongst nations. And I think there was an arms agreement they signed on lessening, so to say, nuclear power. That's to bring to peace and unity. And this is something that so to say, this unity is going to be beneficial to mankind, not just to the countries as individuals, but whole mankind is going to benefit from peace. And the Rebbe says before this announcement is the Rebbe said that the president spoke to the nation. Maybe it was the State of the Union at the time. But Ariel on Tuesday night is Kamei Shabbos, ready Shabbos. Wednesday starts. It's Tuesday night. It means it's considered already the beginning of Wednesday. So we're getting ready for Shabbos. Haschol Erev Shabbos. Shaboy Haidia Vehichris. I guess the president in 1992, I think, who was it? It was Bush Senior. That he's starting, that America is going to try to downgrade the weapons, so to say, so the world should stop being a weapons race. We need to laksafim and to use the monies for better things. Instead of buying weapons, to help in the economy, in the nation. A little bit things that are happening now with changes being made to the American taxpayers' monies. And what he announced was confirmed by the House of Representatives, that the laws of the nation are established according to the American system based on the two houses, the upper house and the lower house. And the Rebbe says, because that's the law of the United States, therefore the Torah recognizes that law, the power of the Senate and the Congress. Because the halacha is dina d'malchusa dina, the law of the land is the law. So the Rebbe says one could contemplate. What can we learn from the fact that the world is looking to become more peaceful? That's back in 1992. Hopefully that happens again in our times. And how we can connect this to the Parshas HaShavua. The general idea we could take from this is in our service to God. So the Rebbe says the general lesson we could start to take from the idea of dialing down the weapons race is the idea of what is the purpose of our voda throughout the whole time of the exile is lahavi lemeis Mashiach, to bring to the days of Mashiach. Now the Rebbe was using that line in 1992. That's lahavi lemeis Mashiach could be to include. It's the end of the mission of brachas. To include that the Haleilos means also that we have to remember Mitzrayim in the days of Mashiach. The Rebbe actually used the word lahavi, that we should bring to the days of Mashiach. Everything we do, everything we do in our life has to be lahavi l'meis Mashiach, to bring us closer to the days of Mashiach. Our agenda, constantly, in everything we do, all the choices we make have to be lahavi l'meis Mashiach, to bring us to the days of Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, "Me'ayudim degula amitis v'ashlema." What's going to be when Mashiach comes? It says that the v'chitztu charvoisam liitim v'chani soiseihem limazmaris v'leisa goy al goy cherev leimudu oid mechama. That in the times of Mashiach, the prophet says, who was a Yeshaya, I think, says that we're gonna take our weapons and we're gonna turn it into plows, and we're gonna turn the weapons, the hardware, instead of being the hardware for destruction, are gonna be hardware for production, and turning it into plows, etc. And there'll be no more fighting and wars amongst the nations. But the Rebbe adds, that's going to be not just that's going to happen in the days of Mashiach. Mashiach himself is going to have the effect to transform the weapons, the things that are for negative, to things of positive. Like the Yeshai Navi says in the beginning of the verse, he's going to judge the nations. Who's going to be the judge? Hu HaMelech HaMashiach is going to be the Mashiach. He's going to be the master of all the world. He's going to be able to dictate what's going to be for each person. There's not going to be any more need for war, because the Mashiach is going to make peace through an intervention to all the issues that cause war should no longer be there. Therefore, there won't be a need for weapons in the days of Mashiach. Like it says, it's to be made into plows. So instead of using the hardware for fighting, it's to be hardware used for positive. Everyone's going to want to go elevate to the Temple Mount. To the house of the Lord of Jacob. Is he's quoting, this is what's going to happen in the days of Mashiach. The Torah is going to come from Zion, with Varsham, Yerushalayim, and the word of God from Jerusalem. And the teacher is going to be the Mashiach. He's going to judge. He's all quoting the Radak, which is on, the Radak is one of the commentaries on the Navi. Radak is a commentary. Machlitim. And because in 1992 there was an agreement to dial back the weapons, and to invest instead energies and focus in the economies of both the United States and the world at whole. Which this is that that they're gonna change. They're gonna change the swords into plows. Breaking weapons. To turn it into something to use for usefulness in the earth. What's the point of the earth? To give off bread, which is a sign of a healthy economy. So this itself is all a sign. The fact that the Rebbe says that in 1992 there was a weapons agreement, that these are all signs of the coming of Mashiach. This is the beginning, although it's going to be finalized with the coming of Mashiach, that this is all a sign of the coming of Mashiach. Okay, so I just want to stop here for a second, because the Sicho was said in 1992, which is over 33 years ago. It doesn't mean that because there was certain setbacks in world order since then, that means that whatever the Rebbe was talking about in 1992 is no longer applicable. Because we know that in every progress, nothing progresses 100%. There's a general line of progress. And the general line of progress is to go away from wars. Even today, the idea is to leave wars. So in 1992, when they signed the weapons agreement, although we've had issues, especially in the past few years, as far as wars go, but that's the pushback from the evil side that doesn't want to accept that we're getting closer to the days of Mashiach, where we're going to drop our weapons and we're going to turn our weapons into plows. So that, the Rebbe says, is already the beginning of the sign of Mashiach. Doesn't change. It means when there's pushback, just because there's any obstacles, anytime we make a plan to do something for the positive and there's an obstacle, we don't put up our hands and say, that's it, we tried and it's over. We push forward. So the Rebbe says like this, to give more explanation. Because we're holding the sea, so to say, the high point, getting ready for Bias Mashiach to come. Mashiach is coming. And we're starting to see the effect of the King Mashiach on how the mindset of the nations, that in general the nations are looking to put down their weapons and to turn them into plows. Again, the sign of progress is pushback. One of the signs that nothing's happening is no one's looking to push back. The very fact that evil, the Rebbe said many times that why does a flame make a lot of noise before it goes out? Is because there's a fight that the flame shouldn't go out. So too over here. So the fact that fakert, the idea that there's evil and there's trying to be wars, is a sign that there's pushback against the idea that Mashiach is trying to bring peace to the world. So the Rebbe says, we're starting to see the effect that the mindset of the world is to go towards peace. That the idea is that the Mashiach is going to judge the nations amongst themselves, and that they should put down their swords and turn them into plows. It's not that Mashiach yet is doing it actually, but Hashem is starting to implant, God is starting to plant in the heart of the leaders of the nations. We know that the hearts of kings is in the hand of God. I mean, everyone is in the hands of God, but specifically world leaders, it's brought down, are of course how they run their countries is how things are decided in heaven. And therefore, what did Hashem put in the hearts of the nations? That they should put down their weapons, their swords, and turn it into plows. Means the focus should be economy. The Rebbe says, what's the idea of plow? Plow is you're turning something that's for destruction into production. That's why the Rebbe said that again, that Friday, the Rebbe is bringing on Parsh in Shvat, Mr. Rabbi, sometime in February in the year 1992. On Friday that year, they signed an agreement between Russia and America to kind of to disarm some of the nuclear weapons. So the Rebbe says, that's the reason. That's why the decision is happening now to stop building weapons and to try to walk away from war. Because because we're getting ready and closer to the days of the coming of Mashiach. A day Mashiach Tzidkenu Paramamish, that's going to be when Mashiach comes actually. The Rebbe says to add, the Rebbe says this idea that there's already an effect from in the spirit of Mashiach to put down the weapons and to build on economies. It was also when it happened and where it happened. And which nations announced to put down their weapons. So the Rebbe, let's see what the Rebbe is talking about. Where did this happen? Where was the announcement? Where the nations, all their representatives come, which is obviously the UN, to hopefully talk in a peaceful, respectful way between each others. Where did this happen? In the United States is where we host the headquarters of the UN, and in New York City, which is the host of the UN. Again, you have to remember, we're talking about the Rebbe's. This is 1992. There is a tremendous spirit and focus on Mashiach in every detail. So and that's continuing. We're growing on that. We're building on that. There's obstacles doesn't change the fact. So the Rebbe says so. It happened in New York, where there is Beis Rabbeinu Bavel. Beis Rabbeinu Bavel means the house of Rebbe in Bavel, which is referring to when its initial reference is obviously that he had Zeh Beis Rabbeinu Bavel, that the Migdash Ma'at, the small base of Migdash, was referring to Rav's yeshiva in Bavel. But that's an idea that the leader of the Jewish people's place of worship is called Beis Rabbeinu Bavel. And the Rebbe applied that to 770, which is the headquarters of Chabad, starting from his father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, which he called Beis Rabbeinu Bavel. Beis Chayenu, the house of our life. Beis HaKnesses, the Beis HaMedrash, the Shul and the Beis Medrash, means the Torah hall. Beis Torah Tfilah Gemiz Chasadim, place of Torah and good deeds. The Kvoi Kedush Marichami Adam Nasi Derenu, for my father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, and also, of course, the Rebbe led his leadership out of 770. Shebacher by that the Friedrich Rebbe chose the Kavu, the Hamakim Amerikazi, and when he came to the United States, he could have moved anywhere. There was even a thought that the Rebbe would move to Chicago. Chicago was also a large Jewish city in the 1940s. Obviously, it didn't turn out to be like New York, but at the time, the Rebbe thought there was a thought to go to Chicago. The Rebbe chose New York. The Makom Amerikazi Shemenu Teitze Torah, that would be the place that Torah will come forth. Hafatzas Torah v'Amayonis, the place to spread Torah and the well springs of Chassidus Chutza outside, B'chol Katzvi Tevel, in all places of the world. Ad B'yis Mashiach Tzidkenu, until Mashiach comes, that's going to be Beis Rabbeinu Bavel. The place of Rabbeinu Bavel is going to be in 770. Mashiach comes and all the well springs will spread all over. That they're going to turn their swords into plows will come into full form. What's the idea? So we're talking about what's the idea that the Friedrich Rebbe, the previous Rebbe, chose that New York City should be the place where he's going to have his institutions and have his shul, so to say, the headquarters of Chabad. The idea is like this: when the Nasi, meaning the previous Rebbe, came to the second half of the world, of the globe. What does it mean, the second half of the globe? There was a big idea in after Columbus discovered that the other side, so to say, the Europe side of the globe recognized the concept of the United States and the islands, was that the Torah wasn't really given in Chatzi Kadar Tachnu. Torah was given in Mount Sinai, which is on the side where people live. So there was a kind of idea that the fact that people and Torah migrated to the Chatzi Kadar Tachnu, was called the bottom half of the globe, is a sign of the spreading of Torah, getting the world ready for Mashiach. So the Rebbe says, when the previous Rebbe came, so the first time a Chabad Rebbe came to set up home, and general Jews was only the past few hundred years, in the bottom part of the globe. And the previous Rebbe decided that where is he going to be? He's going to be in the United States. He could have gone anywhere else. He could have gone to Canada, South America. He went to the United States. In this city, meaning New York City. That's when the bottom part of the globe started to get refined to be ready for Mashiach. Means anytime a Jew, right? We know that this is an idea. It's brought down from Medrash and Talmud. That idea that God tzedakah, tzidkah, it was a charity, so to say. That God spread the Jewish people over the exile, so they should be able to bring all the sparks back. Until the past few hundred years, there hasn't been major engagement in the Chatzi Kader Tachton. There was no Torah, there was no Chassidus. So when the previous Rebbe came there, notwithstanding of the circumstances, he had to run away from the war, the communists. That's all just facts. But the deeper purpose was to be able to refine Chatzi Kader Tachton in the bottom part of the globe. Shagam by Nimshach Hagil the Matan Torah, to bring Matan Torah there as well. Shahayi b'Chatzi Kader Elion, because where was the actual Matan Torah? Was in the top part of the globe. When we say the top, we're talking about Eretz Yisrael. So Eretz Yisrael is the top, and around that area, but the bottom is the United States. The Rebbe says more than that. Adrab, on the contrary, not just the United States, obviously North and South America, Australia, etc. Adrab, on the contrary, what happened in the past few hundred years, the past 100 years, 150 years? That today, where is the main place of Torah for all Jewish people? It's coming out of Chatzi Kader Tachton, the main yeshivos of institutions, both in the Hasidic world and non-Hasidic world, and the various different Hasidim. Most of the rabbis and the Rosh Hashivas today is in the Chatzi Kader Tachton, in the bottom half of the globe, and that's where Torah comes to the other places. To the Torah, they come to the United States, the Chatzi Kader Tachton, to learn to be with the Rebbe. So now became the source of Torah. Where does Torah spread from? Torah spreads from the Chatzi Kader Tachton, from the bottom half of the globe. And the Rebbe says, in what way? Because where did the shluchim, where did the emissaries all over the world, even in Eretz Yisrael, where were they sent from? They were sent from the previous Rebbe's, from the Rebbe's shul in 770, which is in Chatzi Kader Tachton. And even the emissaries that were sent back to the original place where Torah was given, where did it come from? It came from the bottom part of the globe, which is where 770 is. And not only that something that happened, never happened before, that Jewish institutions, that a Rebbe sent shluchim to the most seemingly deserted place in the world, to spread Torah and Judaism ben kol b'nei Yisrael, amongst the Jewish people. Yes, Aaron.
But they came here because of war, because they were killing us off.
That's the way it's always been in the Jewish history. There's circumstances of why. How do you think the Jews ended up in Spain or other places? It all started off seemingly in a negative, but that's the point. What starts off as a negative is really a positive. It says, how did the yeshivas open up in Spain and North Africa? There was a boat that left from Bavel with 4 top geniuses from the yeshivas, and they were taken hostages by pirates. This is a story that happened 1,000 years ago. And they were sold and ransomed to different Jewish communities. And because they went to these different communities in North Africa and Spain, they started the yeshivas. Otherwise, there would never be Torah in that part of the world. So it seems like a bad thing. But that's how Hashem made it to be that way. That sometimes bad circumstances is the way, the kavanah, how God wants to do what He wants to do. Not always do things come in the way that we imagine they would come, in a nice way or in a pleasant way. So that's been happening in the Jewish history forever, and that happened here too. So although you're right that the reason why we ended up in the United States is running away from persecution, but that's what's called the pshat. But the sod, the depth of it is different. So the Rebbe says, especially they had to send. The Rebbe sent shluchim to places that they don't know Lashon HaKodesh, they don't know Hebrew, they speak other languages, they live amongst other people. They're not living in a Jewish godly society. And here the Rebbe says it's not just an idea to spread Judaism amongst the Jews, but also to teach the light to the Gentiles as well, to the Noahites, to teach the 7 Noach laws. So this became an emphasis in the later years. The closer we get to Mashiach, the stronger the emphasis is also to teach the nations, to get them ready for the Mashiach by teaching them the 7 Noach laws. Sha'az, the time of Mashiach, we have the prophecy that says, everyone's going to speak a clear, single language. Everyone's going to serve a single God. You can't expect that just to happen. It has to become with preparation. Ubetkufa achroina, and the Rebbe says, and in the latest mamish, the latest times, Heichal Mishnas Nisim, the Rebbe said, starting from the year of miracles. The Rebbe coined the year of 1990, which is Tafshin Nun, as the year of miracles. Nun as a first letter, Rosh Tevis of Nisim. And then we went from there will be a year of wonders, and Niflois Bakoil, and there will be wonders in everything, which were the years 1990, 91, and 92. And the Rebbe here is talking in 1992. Now we've come to an explosion. Shalmadina he shebeshaita charsa al digla vechriza mechama b'fatzes tarviyadis. And then in 1990, the communists, the started saying the around 1990s when communism fell, and a nation that waged the war against Judaism and Torah fell. And all of a sudden, since then, we see how much Judaism, this is the Rebbe talking in 1992, and things were just starting in Russia. Today, the biggest institutions, yeshivas, are in the former Soviet Union. They have beautiful shuls and yeshivas. So this is a nation that waged war against Torah and Judaism. Not just war against Torah and Judaism, but war against God, believing in God. That my father-in-law, the previous Rebbe, was arrested for his efforts in spreading Judaism in 1927. Like you said, Aaron, and because of that, he had to leave Russia. He had to leave he had to leave the Soviet Union because of persecution that was happening over there. Became what happened, and over the years, that even in that place, the Frierdiker Rebbe didn't give up on Russia. He sent secret emissaries. We all know the Rebbe over the years always were sending emissaries to Russia on hidden missions to bring matzos and other things, and to give chayas and to give hope to the communities that were trying to hold on to something of Yiddishkeit. With self-sacrifice, until our times, that it's no longer there. It's nullified. And now we could start doing much more in the former Soviet Union. And this is again 1992, when things were just about to start. I was there in 93. There's nothing really going on. Until the absolute fall of communism, that started with a new rule, that again, everything has to be taken into context. They were trying to start with justice and to peace. Again, allowing for there to be belief in religion. Again, on Friday of Parshas Mishpatim. Again, we had these meetings this week also. But again, things take time. You have to understand that. So there was a meeting in that Friday, 1992, between, I guess, Bush and whoever was the president then of Russia. And Vishtatfusam shel oid kaman higa medinas kudes ba'olam, and other superpowers were there at the meeting, maybe the G7 or so. Shebanis kabla achlativ achrazish teichna v'chasasach havasayim litim. That the idea was to agree on a weapons downgrade. And again, the Rebbe saw that as a sign of Mashiach, turning weapons into positive, turning the focus of war, going away from the focus of war and building on the focus of economy. And the fact that this announcement happened, the Rebbe, from when the Rebbe accepted leadership, the Rebbe talked very large. The Rebbe was not scared to talk large. When the Rebbe is talking large, he says, where did this meeting happen? And happened in the city of the Nasi, the city of the Frierdiker Rebbe. Where they came specifically to New York, because that's the city of the Frierdiker Rebbe. The president of America. He could have had the meeting in Washington. Instead of having the meeting in Washington, they had the meeting in New York. He had to leave Washington to come to New York. The Rebbe didn't look like that at that by chance. This is all an effect of what started with the spreading of Chassidus and Torah coming from New York City. And this is happening from the leader of our generation, the Mashiach of our generation. And when we do it in a complete way, it's getting the world ready for the actual function of the Melech Mashiach, the King Mashiach, which is going to be V'shavti ben Hagoyim v'achicho amen rabim v'chasasur chavreseim leitim, that he's going to judge amongst the nations. Mashiach is going to judge, no one else. Amongst the nations, work out all the issues, and to be able that we should put down our swords and pick up our plows to focus on positive as opposed to destruction, focus on building as opposed to destruction. And he says V'gama, so the Rebbe says that's the place where it happened. So the place was New York City. V'gama zman sheba'ir murazu v'tkufa achrei atzma huzman masuga b'shachas mitzad kaminyanim. And the Rebbe says the fact that it happened at this time of the year is also not by chance. Why? The fact that it happened on a Friday, which is the day before Shabbos, and Shabbos represents the concept of Mashiach. Like the day, like Mashiach is going to be a day, it's going to be a time of Shabbos for the whole world. The idea of Shabbos is that even those who destroy, the destroyers have to rest. Means not just rest, we get rid of them from the world. And because our custom is, like we learned in the laws of Shabbos, that we don't take in Shabbos exactly one night. We like to add a few 40 minutes, 30 minutes to the days, to the time of Shabbos, right? So Shabbos comes in Elef Hashvi. When's the 7,000th year start? At the end of the 6,000 year. But if you're taking Shabbos early, take it in 40 minutes early, So then you're adding to bringing the days of Mashiach in early. Mashal Azev, it's like a wolf. Shabbos is like a wolf that takes from before him and after him. Means when he tarif means when he tears at an animal, he doesn't just take. He looks from both sides. So to Shabbos tears a little bit of Friday and a little bit of Motzei Shabbos. Means we don't go out. We take Shabbos out a little after Shabbos. It's already dark. We extend Shabbos and we take Shabbos in early, like a wolf that takes from both sides. So to Shabbos takes from both Sunday. A little bit of Sunday, meaning the night entering Sunday, and from Friday. And therefore, there it says Friday represents a concept that we could bring Shabbos in early, we could bring Mashiach in early. Mashbis, man, what is the idea of Mashiach? Pashit mashbis mazikim, get rid of destroyers from the world. No, is that not appropriate for today? And when did it happen? Vav b'chaydish happened on the 26th of the month. The gematria, the name of the number 26 is the number value of Shem Havaya, of God's name. Lashon Mahava means, the name of Havaya means God who is a constant creator. It's also a sign of Mashiach. Then the name of Havaya. Now we only see Elokim. We see the way God hides himself in Teva, nature. But the creator that's above nature, kind of people try to not, like Pari says, who's Hashem? I don't want to look at Hashem. But when Mashiach comes, it's going to all be revealed. That's the idea of Chavav 26. That in times of Mashiach, everyone's going to see the presence of God, Havaya. Everyone's going to see Kipi Havaya Dibar. What does it mean, Kipi Havaya Dibar? Not just that the word of God spoke. What is behind the word of God? It's not Elikim. Nature doesn't dictate. We're going to see how really everything was acts of God. And therefore, there's no place for negativity. What's the Rebbe define as negativity? Mazikim, people who destroy, terrorists, terror, the klineshek and weapons. When Mashiach comes, there's no more going to be destruction. That year, it's important that 26, which represents Havaya, which is revelation of godliness, falls out on Friday, which is the day leading into time of Shabbos, of the time of Mashiach. And that's like the day the first man was created, which is the main purpose of creation, meaning the creation of man. And through him and afterwards. That happens every Friday. The whole world gets elevated, like we've learned many times from the Orach Chaim HaKadosh, that every Friday, every day, every 7 days is a cycle. It's also appropriate that Friday falls out on the 26th of that year. Is the idea of 26 Shem Havaya on Friday, the day of completion, a day of creation of man. The idea that the world is going to be renewed. And here the Rebbe adds one more thing. We'll go a little further. The Rebbe says, yes, Aaron.
The 26th of every month, or if Friday falls, or the 26th of a certain month.
The Rebbe was talking that year that the 26th the 26th of the month was on a Friday, but the 26th is a special day every day of the month. Tonight is that we're entering the 23rd. The 26th of this month is going to be 24th is Shabbos, 25th is to be Monday. 26th it represents the name Havaya. That year, the Rebbe was connecting that it was unique that the 26th should fall out on Friday itself. Both of them representing the concept of Mashiach.
So the number 26, it could be
that the number 26 is the number value of God.
So what I'm saying is it could happen any month.
Yes, every 26th is a special day, especially if the 26th falls out on Friday. The Rebbe says also Gimel. The Rebbe says this is the last Shabbos of Shvat. And Shvat is connected to the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe and the Rebbe. That's when the previous Rebbe passed away and the Rebbe accepted leadership. Chodesh Echad, which is the 11th month. Shvat is the 11th month counting from Nisan. Oded would be is the 12th month. Shasiri Shabai, the 10th of the 11th month. Huyom Elula is the day of the passing. The completion of the life. The reign of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe. And on the 11th day, here the Rebbe adds that it's not just the 10th day was the, so to say, the Hilula, and the 11th day starts the continuation. Right away, the Rebbe took leadership. Until we complete what we have to do. Means the Rebbe says the new Zman started right after Yud Shvat. So we're 75 years from that date. But that's going to go until the job is done. That's it. There's no third time. Dora Achin, we're the last generation, Shahagalis of the exile. Who Dor Harishan Shalgula, and this itself is the first generation of redemption. B'meshech Mem Beis Shanim, it's written already then in 1992, 42 years. Now it's been 75 years. The Yeshlaimer Shem Kineged Mem Beis Masois, and the Rebbe attributed that 42 years were it's a unique number. The 42 travels the Jewish people did in the desert. Shebe Midbar, Ha'amim, in the desert of the nations. She'as Kfar Mechonim Va'imdim, the Knesset Eretz Begula Mitzvah Vashlema, and we're ready to go into Eretz Yisrael, because the final journey is the 42nd journey, and that's what we're holding. Unfortunately, we've been stuck in the 42nd journey for the past 30 years. As the Rebbe spoke before. The very fact, again, that he announced putting down the weapons in New York City is not by chance, it's because that's the place of the Frierdiker Rebbe. A Mashiach Shebadar, the Mashiach of our generation, that he's going to be the one that's going to implement what the Mashiach is going to do, to turn the weapons into plows. And the Rebbe says, and we can connect it to the parsha. So what's this idea of the parsha? This week's parsha is Mishpatim, which is Eila Mishpatim Asher Tasim Lifneim. These are the laws that you have to put in front of the Jewish people. God tells Moshe. Rashi teaches us. This is coming to add to the first ones. It's coming to teach us something. What it means the first ones? The first ones are the 10 Commandments. That we have to know. That just like the 10 Commandments come from Sinai, so too the laws that we learn in this week's parsha, the basic laws of between people, it also comes from Sinai. Lifneim v'lai lifnei goyim, and these have to be given to the Jews and not to the nations. Yadas b'din echad shehem danim oisek yedin Yisrael. And let's say you know that why should I go to a Jewish court? The other courts use the same rulings as the Jewish court. Doesn't make a difference. Asher tasim lifneim, you have to bring the cases to Jewish courts. Al teviyah be'erka shalem. The halacha is you're not allowed to bring halachically a case to a non-Jewish court if you could bring it to a Jewish court. So the Rebbe says, "Teichenu shel Parshas Mishpatim." What is the message of the Parsha Mishpatim? Kishma, as its name, Dinim shbein adam chaveroi, the laws between people. Shechiyuvim moving b'seichel adam, that how these laws work are logical. Don't open a pit in a public domain. That doesn't that doesn't seem like a godly idea. That seems like a basic idea because you're causing harm. That even if God wouldn't have said it, we would do it on our own. If not for the Torah, we would have learned these things. We would have learned to be tznius, to be modest from a cat, how a cat behaves, and about stealing from an ant. This is based on a Talmud. The laws that are brought down in this week's parsha, you don't have to be a Jew to understand them. Even a Gentile also understands that these laws make sense. Done in and most of these laws have the same rulings in federal courts and regular courts as well. The vav is the addition that ma rishonim. It should have said eila mishpatim. Why does it say ve'ela mishpatim? To add that just like the 10 Commandments were given on Sinai, so too were these laws given on Sinai. That's why it says these are the laws. That also these laws come down from Sinai. So the person has to know that why do we do these laws? Not because our logic says so, even though logic does say so, but we have to do them because this is what God said. But God wanted that these of His commandments should be understood also in a logical way. Because of that, therefore, because it's Hashem's Torah, it's not just a logical law. It has to be brought to Jewish courts, even though the law is and the ruling will be the same. But Hashem, because by doing it in the Bezdin, so therefore it has the tokef, has the power of Torah. Given the name Seichel, because they are only using logic. And it has to be based on the commandment of Hashem. Again, this bringing continues with the spirit of what we were talking about, but the main idea the Rebbe wants to say in this bringing is that everything has to bring to the days leading up to Mashiach, and that's really what our avodah is. And again, a lot has happened in the past 30 years after that, and a lot of things that were good and a lot of things that were not so good. A lot of Torah has been spread, a lot of Torah has been learned, and a lot of destruction has happened. But these are all obstacles leading on the way of Mashiach. The path is the positive path. We see even till today that the idea is to try to stop wars and to try to stop hate and try to stop this destruction and to turn it into positive. Be'ezus Hashem, coming with Mashiach and Mashiach experience this Friday, even if it's not the 26th, it's the 23rd, we shouldn't even go into Shabbos in Gullus, and we should go into Shabbos in the Geula. It should only be safe for Klal Yisrael and in a way of in happiness and goodness. Yes, Aaron.
When he brings up Mashiach,
I don't hear you.
oh, when you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, when he brings up Mashiach, does he know?
I don't hear. Go now.
Does he know anything about who it is? Does he mention it?
He mentions it's the previous Rebbe. It says it's the Nasi Dereinu, the leader of our generation.
So when did you, just curious, when did you guys decide it wasn't the previous Rebbe, it was him?
Everyone that's a hard question. We could talk about it in the Shmuz, but the Rebbe is clearly saying that the Rebbe's opinion was that his father, not the previous Rebbe, the Nasi of the generation, is the Mashiach, and then that leadership continues with the Rebbe's leadership over the past 75 years. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Laila Tov, thanks for joining. Chodesh Tov.